What I'm going to do today is demonstrate our Trade Secret Examiner product. This is the opening screen, and I'm going to go ahead and log in here. Let me log in as sort of a generic user. By a generic user, I mean not somebody who's part of the intellectual property management group, but somebody else in the company. Now what I have here is one option. I can enter a new trade secret. So let's go ahead and enter a new trade secret. And what I will call this one is the dynamometer test results. And this will be from our 6.0 liter engine. The date that trade secret was created, and I'll put that down as September 1st. So 1 September 2016. That's in an international format because 1/9/2016 in the United States means January 9th, but 1/9/2016 in Europe means the first day of September. So we have an unambiguous way of specifying the date. Now I've entered an exact date here, but you may not know the exact date that your trade secret was created, particularly if you're documenting trade secrets that were created a while back. So this field can accept any sort of text. You can put in there the first quarter of 2015. You can put in there just the year, 2013. You can say before 2010. So you don't have to specify an exact date here. The idea is to get the best date you can and enter that, and you can do that in whatever sort of text string you'd like. And I'll put down here that these are the initial dynamometer test results for the new 6.0 liter engine that we're just now introducing. And so this is new stuff, and we're not ready to publish this yet. The subject is this is coming out of, well, let's call it our testing department. The format is it is going to be test records, and the product is for our 6 liter V8. I'm going to add a location for this trade secret. This was done in our R&D headquarters. And the group was Engine Dynamometer Group. The type, this is being researched. And the start date I have is 1 September of this year. I'm not going to put an end date because this is still open. And I'll mark this as our primary location. These results might go to marketing communications later to go in an ad in a magazine. They may be distributed to customers as part of the shipping of the product. But for right now, that trade secret may ultimately go other places. But for right now, this is the main place. So there's 2 characterizations I'm going to make of the trade secret here. One I've already done. The subject, the format, and the product. So these are the testing test records for the 6.0 liter V8. Now, we want to put all the trade secrets into categories. We want to characterize these. We want to classify these. And we don't want a system that we're going to have to train everybody on. We don't want something Byzantine. We want something straightforward. And so what we have here is we have the organization at the highest level. We have, what is it actually? What's the format of it? And here we have test records. And then we have which one of our products does it apply to? Well, it's the 6.0 liter. We could also have it something that applies to all of our engines, the whole product line, or just the inline 4s, the 1.8 and 2.2 liter, or the V6s, the 3.2 and the 3.5, or the V8s, the 5 and the 6. We can also have the V format engines. So we have the ability to deal with the product line and a hierarchy between the products in that way. The point about this is that this is the way people talk already in your organization. So it's, hey Fred, do you have those testing test records for the 6.0 liter? Or do you have the engineering specifications for the new carburetor? Do you have the production schedule for the 4 cylinders? We already talk like that inside the company. What we're doing here is we're formalizing that into a structure, a 3-dimensional structure of subject, format, and product. And that allows us to deal with trade secrets in groups of similar things, instead of having one big ball of information that we don't really know how to classify. And that's sort of like a library card catalog. What we're trying to build here is a library card catalog for trade secrets. A library card catalog, when you look up a library book, it's going to tell you that it's in the archaeology section, or it's in the biology section, or it's in the chemistry section. It's going to classify that book, and then it's going to have subcategories. It's going to also divide it into hardcover and softcover and things like that. And that's what we're doing here. The other thing we're going to characterize it on is the legal test for what qualifies as a trade secret in the first place. What qualifies for trade secret protections? If someone steals your information and you're going to have to go to court over it, does it qualify as a trade secret? Is the court going to say, this is indeed a trade secret and it's deserving of these protections, and so your lawsuit can proceed? And these are the 6 questions that the court will ask from Section 757 of the First Restatement of Torts. Again, when scoring the trade secrets on these 6 factors, we want something we don't have to train people how to do. We want something simple that everybody already knows. So what we use is a 5-point scale, because everybody knows a 5-point scale already. It's a 4-star hotel. Roger Ebert gave this movie 5 stars. Everybody knows what those things mean. So we're going to score the 6 factors of a trade secret using a 5-point scale. So how widely known is this trade secret inside our company? And I'll say, well, the group knows it, the group that took the results. How widely known in the industry? Well, nobody knows what our test results on our engine. That hasn't been published. That's not been shared with anyone. Time, effort, or money invested to develop. Well, this was some investment. I mean, we had to set up an engine on the test stand and hook it all up and do a bunch of test runs and adjust it and get everything ready that way. But it wasn't a big research project to do the testing. What's the value? We got pretty good test results. We think it's pretty important. It's going to be important to us to be able to go out there and eventually say how well this engine is done. How easy to reproduce by an outside company? Well, if they bought one of our engines, they'd have to do all the same work we did to get the test results. So it's difficult. And the extent of our security measures. Well, this is in our R&D facility, so there's a lot of security there. Finally, keywords associated with this trade secret. I can type individual keywords into here. The other thing I can do is specify up front in the configuration of the machine keywords that make sense in our company. When I say select keywords from a list, it will show me all of the things that we thought made sense for our company, a list of standard keywords that we plugged in, plus all the other keywords that have been used on trade secrets so far. And so it's a combination of those 2 lists. And so we can look at these now. We'll slide this up a little bit. We can look at these now and see what these keywords are going to apply. Well, we're trying to get higher horsepower. We want to be able to brag about that. And we're doing that with some increased flow rate. Ultimately, we're probably going to put this in magazines for our ads and brag about our engine. And so the rest of these are pretty mechanical things and don't really apply to the testing. So I'll accept maybe advertising, because we're ultimately going to advertise our horsepower. So I'll accept those, and there's the ones I've selected. Normally in a database, you either select or you type things in. Here we can do both. So I'll add in dynamometer, test results, and I'll put in here torque curve, and I'll put in horsepower curve. Okay. Now that's 7. It says 6. Which one of these isn't as important? Because I'm only going to save 6. Well, if I'm advertising it, I'm doing it in a magazine, so I don't need both of those keywords. So I'll do that. I can add a note for this trade secret, so I can say something specific about it. I can say this trade secret's going to be obsolete once we publish it. I can put other things in there. I can also record a hash code for this trade secret. That's really important. What I can do, just like a book in the library is tied to the library card catalog card for that book, the card catalog card has a number on it, and that book has that number on the back. So how am I going to relate this entry to the actual trade secret? What I can do is I can take that dynamometer test result and I can take a picture of it, or if it's already in the computer, I can take the file that it's in, and I can generate a hash code from that, a one-way mathematical hash code. I can record the hash code here. What that allows me to do is to prove later that this entry that I'm making applies to that document. This entry applies to that document, period, and no other. The reason we want to do it with a hash code, I could put the dynamometer curve itself in here. The problem with that is trade secrets are best left where they're at. You don't want to collect all the trade secrets in your company into one machine someplace. That machine becomes a huge security risk. Part of the security of trade secrets is leaving them where they're at, leaving them distributed around the company. So we don't want to move the trade secrets. We just want to be able to record a hash value that'll prove that this entry corresponds to that file. So we'll record the hash code, and we won't put the trade secrets in this system. Just as the library card catalog doesn't have any books in it, the trade secret card catalog isn't going to have any trade secrets in it. So I'll update this location. That allows me to save, and I'll save our trade secret. Now it's given me a registration number of 210. So I can take that number and record it in my lab notebook, my engineering notebook. I can record it in my production records or something as that trade secret is trade secret 210. It will always be called trade secret 210 inside the system. So as a normal person in the company, not a member of the IP management group, not a person who's dealing with all the trade secrets, but just an engineering supervisor or a production supervisor, a scientist in our R&D department, I can enter the trade secrets in that way. So let me log in as a higher level user. And now I have more menu choices. I can enter a trade secret. I can look at inventories of the trade secret. I can analyze the trade secrets. I can configure the system. And I can print out the page I'm on. Let's go ahead and look at the potential trade secrets. So here are the trade secrets for our company. And I have casting methods, drilling programs. I have the dynamometer test results. There's our trade secret 210 we just put in. These are called potential trade secrets, potential trade secret inventory. If I have everyone in the company entering trade secrets, or if I have a lot of people in the company entering trade secrets, and they're not intellectual property professionals, they're putting in the things that they think are trade secrets. I just don't want to take all of those into the system and call them trade secrets. Nobody in the intellectual property group has looked at them. Nobody knows whether they're really trade secrets or not. So they come into an anteroom, a little sort of a vestibule on the system, and that's where they are here. And so we can see that some of these have been looked at and have been accepted. Others, like our dynamometer test results, are pending. That means nobody's looked at it yet. It's not been accepted as a trade secret in the system yet. In terms of looking at these different trade secrets, I can sort them by name. I can sort them by subject. So there's reverse order, T is first. There's the forward order, manufacturing is first. I can sort them in acceptance. I can also sort them the other way in reverse order, so I can see that there's 3 pending that I need to look at. The confidentiality level I'll show you in a moment. I can sort them by registration number, so I can sort them from lowest to highest or highest to lowest, and the highest to lowest puts our recent one, our most recent one, the dynamometer test results, right there at the top. I can also show just for instance, the testing trade secrets. And right now I just have one. I can show, for instance, the formats. And so I can show just the formats that I'm looking at. And so I can say, well, show me all of the processes. I'm really interested in that right now. And there's all of my processes in the system. I can show which products they apply to. Now, the interesting thing here is I could show all the 6-liter V8 products. So these are all the trade secrets about the 6-liter V8. But I know there's other trade secrets that apply also to the V8, all the V8s, the V8 product line, and to the V format engines, the V8s and the V6s, and even some that apply to all of our engines. And if I was going to sell the 6.0 liter V8 to another company and they were going to manufacture it, or if I was just going to have them manufacture it for me, I would have to give them all the trade secrets relating to that product so they could do it. Not just the ones that are specific to the product, but also the ones that apply to the product line. So I can say, well, show me the trade secrets for the parent products. And now what I see here is I get the trade secrets for the 6-liter V8. I also get the trade secrets for the V8s, which is the 5-liter and the 6-liter. I also get the trade secrets for the V format engines, both the V6s and the V8s. And there's even a trade secret here that applies to all of our engines, how we harden the wrist pins. So I've now got all the trade secrets that apply to that product and all the parents that it belongs to, all the product lines. Let's consider another issue. Let's say that what I look at here is I look at the V8s. Let's say the V format engines. What if I was going to sell all of V format engines to another manufacturer and I was just going to stay with the inline 4s? Well, I'd have to give them this trade secret, but I'd also have to include the trade secrets that apply to the 6-liter, to the 5-liter V8s, to the 3.5 and 3.2 liter V6s, the V8s as a group. And so these are all the trade secrets that apply to the entire V format engines. So that ability to store a product line also extends to the ability to sort and select. So let's move this, let's pick this now to show all. We've got it sorted from highest to lowest, so this is our most recent. And let's look at a display of that. This is what the fellow entered on the sheet that anyone can use. And so we see this, it's pending. There's some things here that haven't been looked at yet. So let's go ahead and edit this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look at this. I can give this a confidentiality rating of confidential, secret, or top secret. For right now, I'm just going to leave that blank. But what I am going to do is I'm going to accept this trade secret after I've looked at it. So let's go ahead and mark that accepted. And now I'll update. Okay, so now if I sort on the registration number and I put the most recent at the top, I can see that this new trade secret is accepted. What that means is that when I go into inventory trade secrets, that new trade secret is listed here. Not all of them are. These are only the ones that are accepted because now this is the real trade secret inventory. This isn't in the ante room or the vestibule anymore. This is inside the system. I have the same ability to select and search on the different characteristics. I can still include the ones for the child and the parent products. I have some other selections here. Let's go back to that potential for a moment. Let's say that I just remembered when I looked at that, engine is misspelled here. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that. I'm going to call that, fix that spelling. And so now I'm going to update that. And let's go ahead and update this record. Then somebody asks me, did you consider whether that might be patentable or not? And so I go and look at this. I didn't mark it as potentially being patentable, but they really think that somebody ought to look at it. So let's go ahead and mark that as maybe being patentable. Now it's going to prompt me to put in a note here. And so I'm going to put maybe patentable. I'm going to have Bob P for Bob Patent, our patent lawyer. I'm going to have him go and look at this and have him see if he thinks that this is patentable. Now, in this case, it's dynamometer test results. Those wouldn't be patentable. I just want to show you how this works. So let's go ahead and update that. And now let's go over and look at our trade secret listing. So here's the trade secrets in the system. I can display that. And this shows me the current status of the trade secret. Gives the rankings on the 6 factors. It does show that it might be patentable and why. I'm showing this with the keywords. I can also show this in the potential. This is the potential that led to this. And I can edit this. And there's some things I can do in editing this. The biggest one here is I can give it a status. What's going on here? Have I applied for the patent? Has it been granted? Is this trade secret currently in use? Or is it obsolete? This particular trade secret, dynamometer test results, when we publish it in a magazine, it's going to be obsolete as a trade secret. We've given it to the world, and so I can mark it obsolete, and then it won't always appear in my lists, and I don't have to keep telling myself, oh, that one's obsolete. I can push it off to the back a little bit, so I don't have to deal with having all of that on the screen all the time. Now, let's analyze trade secrets a little bit, and let me analyze security. That's a big one. Here I have all the trade secrets. This is our security analysis. I have the same selections here. And I show here the security factor, the location security. Now, the location security is the security systems, the level of the security systems that management thinks is in place at that location. The security factor is the reported security reported by the person who filled out that initial worksheet. And then there's the economic benefit. This is how important it is to the company. So let's look at these. These are our analysis factors here. The defendability factor minus the security factor. Now for our new trade secret, it says that the defendability factor is a 3.14. What's the defendability factor? Let's go back and look at that for a moment. If I look at our trade secrets here, and let me sort the registration number, get our one up top. What this defendability factor is it is a mathematical combination of the 6 factors. And so when I look at the 6 factors, right here, inside knowledge, outside knowledge, investment, economic benefit, reproducibility, and security. When I look at those 6 factors and I combine those together, I get a defendability factor of 3.14 on a scale of 1 to 5. That defendability factor is a prediction of the relative likelihood that the trade secret will be recognized by the court as meeting the test of being a trade secret. The better that number is, the easier it's going to be to prove in court that this is a real trade secret, it meets the needs of the law, and we can protect it with legal protections. So that's where that number comes from. So let's go back to our analysis here. When I look at this trade secret, it says the defendability factor is a 3.14 and the security factor is a 4. So the security is bigger than the defendability factor. And that's good. I'm protecting it pretty well. I'm protecting it commensurately with its ability to be proven as a trade secret. The location security minus the security factor, this is the security that management thinks is in place in our R&D facility. The fellow who entered the trade secret says it's only being protected as a 4. Well, those are close. That's a little bit of a judgment call. I'm not too worried about that one. And the economic benefit minus the security factor, the economic benefit is a 3. That's its value to the company. And the security factor is a 4. So we're protecting it commensurately with how important it is to us. But let's sort this and put the big numbers on the top. Now I have a defendability factor minus a security factor of a plus 1.24. So the defendability factor is a 3.24, the security factor is only a 2. Maybe that should be protected better. And if I look at the location security minus the security factor, this is in our manufacturing location. Management thinks our manufacturing location has a 4 for location security. But the security factor that the fellow entered when he entered the trade secret's only a 2. This could indicate that policies aren't being followed in that location, that the security policies we think are in place aren't being followed. And finally, the economic benefit minus the security factor. Here the economic benefit of this to the company is a 4, and the security factor is a 2. That means that that trade secret's not being protected as well as it should be, given how important it is to us. Economic benefit, given how much money it's worth to us. It's not being protected well enough. So this really needs to be looked at. And we have a whole bunch of these here, and they're all in manufacturing. And they all have to do with this group of programs right here. So I think this needs to be looked at. Why they're not being secured the way management thinks they are, why they're not being secured commensurately with their defendability factor, and why they're not being secured at a level that the economic benefit would suggest. So that's the sort of security analysis we can do here. I'm going to look at the history of the trade secrets. So let me get my most recent one to the top, and let me look at the history. History is very important when you go to court. You need to be able to prove the foundation of the trade secret, where it came from and how it's been treated within the company, how it's been handled, prove that it's been handled correctly as a trade secret. So we hang on to the history. And that's important to concentrate on here for just a second. Most databases, when you enter new data, the old data is deleted. So if you have an address book and you put in a new phone number for a friend of yours, and then you find out that he hasn't moved yet. He's got the new house, but they're still living at the old house this month. They're not going to move in until next month. You've got the new phone number in there. You go into your address book. There's no way to find his old phone number. In a trade secret database, in our card catalog, we don't want that to happen. We want to be able to have all the old data available. We want to be able to go back and look at what the data was last month, last year, 5 years ago. Because what if the fellow who stole the trade secret left last year? The data that's most interesting, the data that has the most pertinence in court, is the contemporaneous data. So what I really want to see is the data as of the time he left. So we have here in the history display is we have the potential trade secret history. We have 4 of them here. Now here's 210. That's what I initially entered, and we're going to keep calling it 210 all the time. But what we've done is we've created a new version, 211. And when you look it up, what you see then is 211. Then we created another new version, 212, and another new version, 213. We call all of these 210. That's the original. That's the one that gave it the number that we wrote in the notebook. But it's going to show us 13. Well, what happened here? First, it went from pending to accepted. And it says, who did that? That was me. Fred was the guy who put it in under that other username, right? Well, this is me, and this is today's date as I give this demo. So it was accepted first. Then it was changed again. And if we look at the additional information here, and I look at the additional information here, I can see that this is where I changed the spelling of engine and corrected that. And so it was changed from this line to this line. We can go and hide that again. And then what happened? Then it got changed again. And let me just show this one and this one. And that's where I put in the note. It's maybe patentable. I changed the trade secret by attaching a note to it and by marking it as patentable. And so you can see here that the type is marked patentable. And so the system has remembered each of those steps, and it remembers the old data at each step. Now, every time it does this, for every accepted trade secret, now 210 wasn't accepted, but 211 was. When 211 was created as an accepted trade secret, the system made a snapshot of that data. And so there was a beginning date and end date. It was created. It was created by me because I'm the one who accepted it. And it shows that data for 211. the accepted version right here. Now, it recorded another line for 212. And that recorded a third line for 213. And if I look at these dates here, 1, 2, 3, I can see that that's these dates and times right here, 1420, 1421, and 1422. These two also have an end date. Those are no longer current. This is open on the end date, so it is current. What this gives me when I go back looking at history is the date range when this information about the trade secret was the correct information. And so if the fellow who stole our trade secrets left the company in that date range, then this is really the entry that I'm most interested in, and not the later ones that happened after he left. So I'm going to be looking at these date ranges very, very carefully when I prepare litigation. Now, whenever a snapshot is created, a report is created. So let's get our 210 up the top, and you can see there's 3 of them. And there are 2 that are closed and 1 that's open. Let's look at the open one and show the report. So this report was created when the trade secret was changed, and it shows all of the information in the database about this trade secret. And here's my note about it being patentable, and here's the patent flag. And then it also shows that's 213, that's the latest one. It also shows 210, or 212. It also shows 211. It also shows 210. So this is the entire history of the trade secret to the present day. It's all recorded in a report. That report is created at the time, and then it is saved. No report is ever deleted. And I can show you that. I can go back to the prior report. Here's the prior report. This one, 212 was the current. Now notice it's still called 210. That's the sort of the parent of this whole thing. That's the original number. That's the one that got recorded in the engineering notebook. But 212 is a newer version, and 211 is a newer version, and 210 is the original version. Now this may be the report that we're most interested in for purposes of trial, because this may be the trade secret entry that spans where the date range spans the time that the fellow left the company. So let's look at the blockchain and show the entire blockchain. Every time a report is created, we create a hash code for the report. It's a one-way mathematical function, and it's unique. For any file we create, it's unique, and that's because the number is very big. I could give 1 million of these hash codes to every proton, neutron, and electron in the Milky Way galaxy, and I would never run out. So these are unique, and I record that number. That number can be used later to verify that that report is the same report that was recorded at the time. If the report changes 1 byte, that hash code will not match. So I record the hash code, and then what I do is I hash the table. So when this latest hash code was recorded, and that would be for our 213 report, when that was created, this hash code, the certificate hash value, was created. And that hash is a chain. It's a blockchain of all of these entries. If any of these entries change at all, then the blockchain will not verify. The mathematics won't add up. So all of these things, including the dates, have not changed at all as long as that matches. Now, what's that going to match? What I need to do is occasionally take that number and publish it somewhere. I can publish it, one ad in the New York Times. But what that means is that at any later time, I can prove that all of these dates and all of these reports and all of the information in them has not been changed And if I have that in a want ad in the New York Times today, 2 years from now, in trial, I can prove that all of this information was known 2 years prior and that it hasn't changed since. We have a user log, and it shows who's logged in at what time. And that's very handy for taking a look and seeing if the fellow who stole our trade secrets is a user on the system when he was in the system. Configuration, we can configure logins, and we can set users inactive, but we can't ever delete a user because the user is part of the data that goes with the trade secrets. We can set them inactive, and that will block their future login, but we don't want to just delete somebody. And we can edit the user, and here's the username. Here's his real name, first and last. The passwords I can change here, or I can change up in here. And then there's a level of user. The entry-level user can only get at that first enter new trade secret. The rest of these screens are not available to him. The analyst, the reviewer, the litigator have progressive permissions, and then the admin has the most permissions and can change system parameters. And so I can do that for every user, and I can add more users to the system, however many I need. For subjects, here are my subjects. These are the organizations under the president or CEO. And this looks like it might be a little bit of work to set up, but you can just select subjects from the list. So there's a list in here of the sort of subjects that make sense in an organization. And let's say that we do something with trade secrets and shipping, and I didn't have that in there before. I'm going to add that. And I'll just say copy it to the list. And now shipping's one of the subjects. Formats, the same thing. These are the different formats that our trade secrets can have. In terms of what is the trade secret itself? Well, it's a business plan, or it's a list of components, or it's cost and pricing data. Again, this looks like it would be hard to set up, but we have 200 formats in the system that you can select from and simply put those into the system. And let's say the maintenance instructions and maintenance procedures are going to be an issue for us. We have trade secrets about those, so we'll go and put those in here, and we'll copy those to the list. And now there they are. So that's easy to configure. Products, we've entered our products here. I can't give you a list to select from here because I don't know what you make. But I can take a look at these products, and one of the things I can do is I can look at, for instance, the inline 4 product line, for example, and let me look at that. And you can see here that it has a parent of all engines. So the V4 product line is a part of the bigger product line of all engines. You can also see that it is a parent to the 1.8 liter 4-cylinder and the 2.2 liter 4-cylinder. So the inline 4 engine product line includes both of those two engines. Locations, I can configure the locations in the company. These are generally physical locations. And one of the things about them is I can characterize the security of the location. So our headquarters location, I can record the address, the city, the state, and everything, has intense security. What if I change that security number? Well, an interesting thing has to happen there. The system can't forget anything about a trade secret. That would make it a real problem in litigation and make a real problem reproducing what the status of the trade secret was last year. If I change that number and then I save this, it will do it, and it will now show all the trade secrets at this location having a location security of say, 4. But that's a change to the trade secret. It will generate a new potential trade secret. In our case, with our 210 trade secret, it would generate a number 214. It will generate a new snapshot. It will generate a new support. It will add new hash codes to the blockchain. And so it will be considered a change to all of those trade secrets. But what that means is that come litigation time, and we go back looking through the history of these trade secrets, we'll be able to tell what the data was contemporaneously with the time of interest, and we'll be able to reproduce that data and print out the report from that time, which has been saved, rather than the new report, which reflects changes since the incident that we're litigating over. Very, very important. Location types, being researched, being updated, created, stored, used. What's going on with the trade secret in that location? You can add additional ones here if you think we forgot some, or if there's ones that apply specifically to your organization. The status of a trade secret could be new. That's assigned by the system. You're not allowed to change that one. That's whenever you accept a trade secret, it'll be marked new. There's under development, patent applied for, patent granted, that's currently in use there. Then there's obsolete, superseded, and nullified. Obsolete we've already talked about. That's when I've specifically gone out and made the trade secret public for my purposes. So my new ad campaign has just gone out into all the magazines, for instance. Superseded means that the trade secrets have been recalculated and we have one that's no longer applies. That's going to come up with a feature coming up soon where we can get rid of redundancy among multiple trade secrets, multiple potentials that are all talking about the trade secret that were entered by different people. We need to get them all into one trade secret. And nullified. Nullified is if I accept a trade secret, then I change my mind. So I go back to the potential and I reject it, or I change it back to pending. The system's created a trade secret entry, a real trade secret, not a potential, but a real trade secret. When I accepted that potential, it created a report, it created a snapshot, it created an entry in the hash table. So nullified means that I've backed out of it somehow. I've taken an accepted trade secret and I've either rejected it or I've set it back to pending because I really want Fred to look at it. And sample keywords. These are the keywords that appear in that table, in the initial table. After you do a new trade secret, and I'll show you this, if I go to enter a trade secret, and I go down here and I say select keywords from a list, you'll recall that we created some trade secrets that didn't exist before. There's dynamometer test results. That's one of the ones we created when we entered that 210 trade secret. It's now in the list of sample keywords that you can select from because it's in the database. When I go back to this configuration, it's not in here. These are the ones I entered originally when we started out that people may want to use when they enter trade secrets. As people use enter trade secrets, and they add keywords to the system, they will appear in that worksheet. But this is sort of the original set. That's our configuration, and the last thing is print. You can always print the current page. I think it's terribly annoying when what you want to print is what you see on the page, and there's no way to do that. The other thing is, if we're in a list like the potential trade secrets, we can print either the complete list or the current page. The complete list gets to be important when there are multiple pages. This page will show 50 trade secrets at a time. After that, it goes to multiple pages, and you can go through the pages. So the complete list, when you say print complete list, it will print the complete list of all the pages, not just the current page, so that you can have the whole inventory in your hand. So that's our system. It's very important to be able to catalog your trade secrets so that you can prove in court that they qualify as trade secrets. It's very important to classify them so that you can deal with the trade secrets in groups of similar trade secrets rather than as one big morass of data. It's very important to be able to save all the old data so that you can show what the status was last year or the year before, because that's when the fellow who stole our trade secrets left. That's what we need to prove. And we can also prove it in a court because we've got the hash codes and we've blockchained them in a way that we can prove to the satisfaction of a court that the data was contemporaneous and has not changed since that time. So that's our product. If you'd like more information, click the contact button on the website, give us a call, drop us an email. We'll see you next time.